The difference between a person who's confident and a person who doesn't have confidence is that they hear those voices as truth, and I hear them, or somebody with confidence hears them as fiction. So the way that we keep or earn friends, the way that we get rewards as a child, and the way that we feel what we have to do to feel safe, those develop as little apps in our brain that run in the background of our adult lives. If I'm reading other people well, I'm also making a lot of eye contact with them. So that's also one of the fastest ways to get a read on another human being is how often they're blinking. And if a person is blinking fast, it's a sign of high stress. If they're blinking really slow, it's a sign of focus. So it's not always relaxation. One of the fastest ways to get good at just enjoying the moment is to be so self-forgiving that it's almost delusional. It's the best advice that I could give somebody. Be delusionally self-forgiving about everything. We spend most of our time in conversations looking at people's faces, right? So that's where we always want to start teaching any kind of behavior reading or body language behavior profiling. The first thing that you want to notice about a person's face is what are the lines that are etched into their face. If you see somebody, and this happens by the age of like 18, 19, so it's not like lines from aging, this is lines from expression. If someone's smiling all the time, I guarantee you've met people before, you'll see these little crow's feet from a natural smile that are kind of etched because they live that life and they're kind of happy all the time. If somebody's angry all the time, you're going to see these two little muscles right here pulling together. This is called the glabella. You're going to see kind of an etching right there. If somebody's really social, you're going to see more lines on the forehead develop because our forehead is our social billboard, and that's how we communicate emotion. So people are less likely to trust someone just instinctively if their forehead is covered up like your hair. But this is how we communicate. Like, I enjoy your presence. Hello, good morning. If you raise your eyebrows when you talk to a person, and you could try this as an experiment today. We're going in an airport here in a couple hours. If you just raise your eyebrows when you say hello, 90% of people will reflect back that eyebrow raise without knowing that they even did it. So instinctively programmed into human beings. So you can see people who are naturally more social from the forehead, more enjoyment, happiness driven from the crow's feet in the corner of the eyes. You can see anger right here. But one of the most profound things that I ever discovered was if you make a skeptical facial expression, the first thing it does is it raises your cheeks and compresses your lower eyelid. Like, give it a shot really quick. Like somebody's feeding you. It raises this up and kind of wrinkles the skin right here. So I thought, if someone's spending a lifetime like thinking they're getting lied to or really skeptical, that's going to etch onto the face. So I started experimenting with it and I thought, there's probably 20% effectiveness, but it's more like 100. And then I gave this information to two guys who are comedy hypnotists. And maybe you've seen like a show or something. But they go on stage and bring people up and make them do crazy things and all that. And they have tested it with like between 5 to 10,000 people. And they said it's 100%. The people who wind up staying on stage and being highly suggestible have really smooth lower eyelids. Like, I'm extremely suggestible to hypnosis and all that stuff. Look, see, my eyelids are totally smooth right there. You have somebody your age, you still have like a lower level of suggestibility. So that would be factor 2 in the paper that we put together to write up on this. And that one we're still kind of figuring out, but so far it's between 90 and 100% accurate. Like, the more suggestible someone is, the smoother their lower eyelids are going to be. And keep in mind, this is not some published science. I haven't done any research, scientific research on it, but it's anecdotal. And I've seen so much proof, thousands and thousands of repetitions. Is that something I have? You have what would be called an LEF, lower eyelid factor 2, which means you're mildly suggestible. So you have slight wrinkling there from kind of that expression over time. Interesting. So the next thing is, and the most important thing that you can spot, and this is for anybody, if you're pitching, if you're negotiating, you can see it on a Zoom call, is watching how often someone blinks. And this is one of the most powerful superpowers that you could ever have. So we call this blink rate. And this is like how many times per minute a person is blinking. And the average blink rate is between like 15, 17 in a conversation for humans. If your blink rate starts going up, you're seeing stress in a person. So if we're in a conversation, let's say you're pitching a company or something, and somebody asks you about your financial projections, and your blink rate starts going through the roof as you're talking about all this money, that's a high stress response, and that could be deceptive. But keep in mind, there's no behavior in human beings for deception, none. So, what we're looking for is a change or stress most of the time. So, if I watch a person's blink rate go up, what I really want to understand is what's the context? What is what was just mentioned or talked about that is making this change happen? So, in a high stress scenario, you can see blink rate above 80 per minute. And in a low blink rate scenario, that's where we have focus. So, if someone's genuinely interested in a conversation, you'll see their blink rate drop almost to 3 to 4 per minute, which is a massive difference from 4 per minute to 80 per minute. And you can spot it from like 20 yards away. So it's so easy to see stress and focus on a person. So the last time you were really focused on like a movie that was really great, your blink rate was probably 3 or 4. And the last time you were maybe doing something stressful, like taking a math exam or doing something in school that stressed you out, that your blink rate was probably 70 or 80. The cool thing is we're almost never aware of how often we're blinking. So it's so outside of our conscious awareness that we don't keep it under natural control all the time. And it's hard to control. So I can look at any conversation like you look across an airport or a restaurant at two people talking, you can see who's more relaxed than the other person right away. And that's just looking at the eyes. So we're just looking at face. This is not even the rest of the body. So now we can see not just he has a high blink rate or a low blink rate. What we're really wanting to look for, if I'm teaching you to do this as a trial consultant, or you're about to go select a jury or help a lawyer select a jury, you want to look for change. You don't want to look for, oh, it's high, oh, it's low. What I'm in the business of is spotting changes. So this person behaved this way a few minutes ago, and it just shifted to something else. So if I'm doing public speaking, I'm speaking on stage a lot and stuff like that, I'm making eye contact with people that are out in the crowd, the people that are sitting out there in the audience. And as I'm doing that, I'm looking at eyeballs so I can average the entire room's blink rate. So my job as a public speaker is to keep low blink rate as possible. That means focus is happening. So I'm looking out around the crowd and I see blink rate starting to go up. I'm seeing people blink more often. I know instantly that I'm losing attention. They're getting stressed out. They're thinking about lunch. I'll raise my voice up higher. I'll walk to the other side of the stage. I'll clap my hands really loud or change the subject. And automatically I start seeing blink rate go back down again. I've regenerated focus. And you can spot that in any conversation and think about like if you want to pass someone a question about something that should not cause them stress, but you're seeing that blink rate goes up. That's a big deal. You're seeing it change to this high blink rate. So we teach this in jury selection and all that kind of stuff, but you don't have to count. And that's where that stresses a lot of people out when sitting here counting how often somebody's blinking. You practice just looking how often someone's blinking and say that that looks pretty normal. That looks pretty slow. That looks pretty fast. So your job after that is it increasing or decreasing? And if you want to persuade someone, you want to influence someone, your goal is to get them to blink less and less often. That means that you're generating more and more focus in them subconsciously. That makes sense? Yeah. And the second thing is shutter speed. And the shutter speed is the speed of the eyelid closing and then opening back up again. So we see an increase in shutter speed with fear, and we see a decrease in shutter speed with comfort. But When somebody is fully comfortable, let's say we start a conversation and all of a sudden I start talking about unpaid bills and I see someone's shutter speed increase and their blink rate starts going up. I know that that is a really hot topic for that person. I can't read their mind, but I know that I'm seeing a reaction based off of subject matter. Does that make sense? So, with the face like it, just a couple of the things that you need to be on the lookout for, especially if you're dealing in business and negotiations, women going out on dates with like manipulative dudes and they need to spot it the way sooner so they don't get like sucked into some horrible vortex, is lip compression. And this one is really easy to spot. And it's a very universal thing across all cultures. Lip compression is when someone squeezes their lips together. You'll see like that. And it usually means almost all the time withheld opinions. Like if we're talking and you're like, Chase, how do you like the new thing that you just bought? And I'm like, oh, it's great. But you're seeing somebody withhold some kind of opinion. Not deception, it's not lying per se. It's obviously based on the context, but it's really important to be able to say, oh, there's something being held back. It doesn't mean you need to dig it out or anything, but it's good as a data point to know that there's something here. If I'm in sales and I see lip compression, I know, look, I'm just not going to talk about that anymore. I'm not going to bring that topic up anymore. If I'm in an interrogation, I know I may need to ask more questions about that thing. But it's very powerful to notice if you see when a topic's being brought up, someone's listening and they do this lip compression behavior. It's most often withheld opinions or something being withheld emotion. And the other variation of this is lip retraction. And this is when the lip goes past the barrier of the teeth. So when you see the lip go like into the mouth, or you see a finger go into the mouth, something passes the barrier of the teeth. It's a need for reassurance most of the time. So, and you'll see that like, I'll be calling someone up on stage, or I'll do some kind of thing where I'm talking to a person, and you'll see them do some kind of thing where something's going into their mouth. I'll be right away, I know that that person needs some kind of reassurance, and it is so powerful. It could drastically change how you react to people and how you communicate to people. It make you a much better communicator because you start seeing blink rate go up. I know I'm going to change the conversation to something because I know you're being stressed out. I bring something up, I see lip compression. I know that there may be something there, or I need to move off of this topic. Or if I'm in an interrogation, I need to dig in this topic. So that's just looking at the face. Those are just a few things that we can start looking for. Then there's the peer-reviewed research on lying and not lying. It's so you cannot replicate human behavior that well. So, and people treat it like it's a pharmaceutical. Like I can put a Tylenol in somebody and I can measure all these responses, and it doesn't really go into a spreadsheet like that. And there's a lot of great research out there. But I'd say it's just so incredibly hard to replicate everything in with perfection like that. The most common one I hear is someone touches their nose. So, someone touching their nose might be being deceptive. If you're just seeing one thing, I would say that almost never means anything. You want to look for a cluster of behavior. So they started getting nervous, which is a change. It's because I'm asking about where they were on Wednesday night. There's the context. And while they were getting nervous, they also started protecting their genitals with their hands and licking their lips, which is a hygienic gesture that we do. So now I have a change within the context that's appropriate, and there's a cluster of behavior. After that, I screen through culture. Is there some part of this person's culture or background that makes them do that? Like I was with a young person, we were watching a Pakistani person get interrogated. And you know how you commonly see that kind of head shake
Oh, yeah.
in that region of the world? They said, oh, he's shaking his head while he's saying yes. I'm like, now we get down to that C. This is culture, which rules out that behavior or gets rid of it. And finally, the least important thing on that list is the checklist. And by checklist, I mean there is a list of known behaviors that are likely to be deception. And if you're in body language, you deal in likelihood. That's all we deal in. Some people say they're 100% sure on stuff. I'm skeptical, but we deal in likelihood. So we should always process in that. So if someone licking their lips or moving a certain way, if it's in on a checklist, does not mean that it's deceptive. Because what if they do it all the time? Then we don't have a change. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you were on the Dragon's Den for a while. Sit down here. And people pitch you all kinds of ideas that just having somebody on the show or just having those skills with you, you could see through a lot of those people. And whether or not they're being honest about what they're pitching, they're confident about what they're pitching. And you could look at a show like Shark Tank, and I can watch any episode of Shark Tank and look who's blinking the least. They're going to be the first to make an offer 99% of the time.